At exactly 8:17 a.m., the applause stopped. The auditorium at Westbridge University had been filled with proud families, camera flashes, and the nervous excitement of freshman orientation. Banners hung from the ceiling in deep crimson and gold. A string quartet played softly near the stage. Parents whispered about dorms, majors, futures, and then someone said her name, Amara Johnson. She stood when she heard it, smoothing the wrinkles from her navy dress. Her mother squeezed her hand, eyes shining. 4 years of perfect grades, debate captain, robotics champion, a full academic scholarship to one of the most prestigious universities in the country. This was supposed to be the beginning. Instead, it became the moment everything cracked. A man in a gray suit stepped onto the stage, interrupting the dean mid-sentence. He leaned toward the microphone and whispered something urgent. The dean's smile faded. There was a pause. Too long. Amara Johnson, the dean repeated slowly. Could you please come forward? Confused murmurs rippled through the room. Amara walked toward the stage, heart pounding but posture steady. She assumed it was some kind of recognition, maybe an additional honor. She did not see the campus security officers step quietly toward the front rows. When she reached the stage, the man in the gray suit turned to face her. His badge read, Harold Whitman, Senior Admissions Director. His smile was thin. There appears to be an administrative concern regarding your scholarship file, he said into the microphone. The auditorium went silent. Amara blinked. Concern? Yes, he replied. A discrepancy. Her mother stood slowly in the audience. What kind of discrepancy? Amara asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. Whitman adjusted his glasses. Your academic record is impressive, exceptionally so. A few nervous laughs flickered in the crowd. However, he continued, some of the documentation submitted with your application is currently under review. Under review for what? Amara pressed. Whitman's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. For authenticity. The word hit like glass shattering. A collective gasp filled the room. My transcripts were sent directly from my high school, Amara said. My recommendation letters to Whitman did not look at her. He looked at the audience. We take academic integrity very seriously at Westbridge. Her mother's voice rang out. Are you accusing my daughter of fraud? Sikuchi stepped closer. Whitman lowered his voice but did not turn off the microphone. Until this is resolved, Ms. Johnson's enrollment status is temporarily suspended. Amara felt the ground tilt. You're suspending me, right now, in front of everyone. Whitman finally met her eyes. We cannot allow potentially falsified credentials to undermine our institution. The humiliation was surgical, precise, public. Whispers spread through the rows. She must have faked something. Scholarship kids always try. Phones rose discreetly. Amara's throat burned, but she refused to cry. This is a mistake, she said firmly. Whitman signaled to security. Ms. Johnson, please gather your belongings. Her mother was already walking toward the stage. You will not escort my daughter out like a criminal, she said, her voice low and controlled. Whitman exhaled sharply. Mom, if you cause a disturbance, her mother repeated. Amara stepped down from the stage herself. I'll walk, she said quietly. The auditorium doors felt miles away. Every step echoed. She could feel eyes on her back, judging, speculating, confirming their worst assumptions. Outside, the heavy doors shut behind them. Silence. Then the dam broke. What just happened? Amara whispered. Her mother placed both hands on her shoulders. Listen to me, she said carefully. You did nothing wrong. But they said, I know what they said. Across the courtyard, students stared. Some recorded. Womboy muttered, guess they're cracking down this year. Amara's chest tightened. Her entire life had been built around proving she belonged in rooms like that. And in less than 5 minutes, they erased her. By noon, the video was everywhere. Westbridge University suspends black student during orientation. Clips showed Whitman's word, authenticity, slow motion, zoomed expressions. Comment sections exploded. Some defended the university. If she cheated, she deserves it. Others questioned the timing. Why announce it publicly? News outlets picked it up by evening. Amara stayed in her bedroom, staring at her acceptance letter pinned to the wall. Her phone buzzed constantly. Support, hate, curiosity. She turned it off. Downstairs, Her mother was on the phone. Her voice was calm, precise. "I'll need the admissions records for the past 5 years," she said. A pause. "Yes. All scholarship denials flagged for documentation inconsistencies." Another pause. "I'm aware of FAPA limitations. File the request anyway." Amara descended the stairs slowly. "Mom?" she said softly. "What are you doing?" Her mother ended the call and looked at her. "Building a case." "Do you think this was intentional?" Amara asked. Her mother held her gaze. "I think public humiliation is rarely accidental. Over the next 48 hours, something shifted." A journalist from the Chicago Herald released an investigative thread. He had reviewed Westbridge's admissions data. In the last 6 years, 83% of applicants flagged for documentation review were students of color. Of those, 60% had near-perfect academic records. The story detonated. Alumni demanded answers. Donors paused contributions. Hashtags trended nationwide. Amara watched it unfold in disbelief. She hadn't wanted to be a symbol. She just wanted to study engineering. On the third day, Westbridge issued a statement. "We regret the manner in which a procedural review was communicated." Procedural review, not accusation, not suspension. The wording was careful, but the damage was done. Whitman's email inbox flooded. Old former applicants began sharing their stories. "I was told my SAT scores were unexpected. They asked if I really wrote my essay." Patterns emerged. Late that evening, Amara sat at the kitchen table while her mother spread documents across the surface. "Look at this," her mother said, sliding a chart forward. Red marks clustered around minority applicants. "It's systemic," she said quietly. Amara's hands trembled. "They made it seem like I lied." Her mother reached across the table. "They counted on you," shrinking. The next morning, Westbridge's president requested a private meeting. Amara hesitated. "I don't want to go back there." "You won't go back alone," her mother replied. When they arrived on campus, cameras lined the entrance. This time, no one blocked her path. Inside the president's office, the atmosphere was tense. "Ms. Johnson," the president began, "we deeply regret the distress caused." Amara said nothing. Her mother spoke instead. "Distress," she repeated. "You publicly implied fraud." The president shifted uncomfortably. "Our admissions director acted prematurely." "Based on what evidence?" her mother pressed. There was no answer. Silence stretched thick across the room. Finally, the president cleared his throat. "We are reinstating Ms. Johnson immediately." Amara's jaw tightened. "And Mr. Whitman?" her mother asked. "He has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation." Administrative leave. The same careful phrasing. Amara leaned forward. "I don't just want my seat back," she said quietly. The president blinked. "I want transparency." The word hung in the air. Full release of admissions, review data, independent oversight, public acknowledgement. The president hesitated. Outside, protesters had begun gathering, students holding signs, alumni chanting. The pressure was mounting. "You're asking us to admit institutional bias," he said slowly. Amara held his gaze. "I'm asking you to admit the truth." That evening, Westbridge held a press conference. This time, Amara stood at the podium. Lights flashed. Microphones crowded. She inhaled slowly. "I was accused without evidence," she began. "Not privately, publicly." The crowd was silent. "I earned my acceptance. I earned my scholarship. And I will not apologize for excellence." Applause erupted. Behind her, the university announced the formation of an independent civil rights audit. Admissions protocols would be reviewed. Scholarship evaluations and Whitman resigned 2 weeks later. The viral video remained online, but its meaning had changed. It no longer showed a girl being escorted out. It showed the moment a system was exposed. On her first official day of classes, Amara walked back into the same auditorium. This time, students stood, not out of spectacle, out of respect. She took her seat quietly. No spotlight, no microphone, just textbooks and possibility. Later that afternoon, she sat alone on the campus lawn, watching the wind ripple through crimson banners. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her mother. "You didn't just reclaim your seat. You widened the door." Amara smiled faintly. The humiliation would always be part of her story. but so would the response. Because they had expected her to disappear quietly. Instead, she stayed, and that changed everything. The first lecture began at 9 a.m., but Amara barely heard the professor's introduction. The auditorium felt different from orientation day. Not grand, not threatening, just ordinary. Rows of students flipping notebooks open, the faint scratch of pens, the hum of air conditioning. Ordinary had never felt so hard-earned. When class ended, a girl with curly red hair approached her hesitantly. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shared the video before I knew the full story." Amara studied her face. There was no malice there, just discomfort. "Why did you share it?" Amara asked gently. The girl hesitated. "Because it looked dramatic, and I guess I assumed the university wouldn't call someone out unless they were sure." Assumed. That word again. "Thank you for telling me," Amara replied. As she walked across campus, whispers still followed her, but they sounded different now. Curious instead of condemning. "She's the one, the scholarship girl. No, the lawsuit girl." By afternoon, she met with the newly formed Equity Review Committee, faculty members, 2 student representatives, an external civil rights consultant. They asked her what she wanted changed. Not symbolically, practically. She took a breath. "Stop flagging. Exceptional as suspicious," she said. The consultant leaned forward. "Can you explain?" "When minority students exceed expectations," Amara replied, "it shouldn't trigger doubt. It should trigger celebration." One professor nodded slowly. They reviewed draft policies, blind document audits, standardized review language, mandatory bias interruption training. Amara noticed something. Every change required effort. Every safeguard required intention. Bias wasn't just personal, it was procedural. Weeks passed, the national attention cooled, but inside Westbridge conversations deepened. Professors invited guest speakers to discuss equity in education. Student groups hosted forums. Some conversations were uncomfortable, defensive, raw. At one forum, a student stood up. "My dad says this is all political," he said bluntly, "that standards are dropping." The room went quiet. Amara felt dozens of eyes shift toward her. She stood slowly. "Standards didn't drop," she said evenly. "Assumptions did." The room erupted in applause, but not everyone clapped. But she saw the resistance too. But tight smiles, but crossed arms. Change was never unanimous. One evening, as she studied in the library, an email notification appeared. Subject: Federal inquiry opened. Her pulse quickened. The Department of Education had launched a formal investigation into Westbridge's admissions patterns. Her mother called minutes later. "This is bigger than we expected," she said. "Is that good?" Amara asked. "It's necessary." The inquiry uncovered more than anyone anticipated. Internal emails surfaced. Language like risk profile and optics attached disproportionately to minority applicants. Whitman's resignation no longer looked voluntary. By mid-semester, Westbridge publicly released 5 years of anonymized admissions data. The numbers spoke louder than any speech. Applications from underrepresented communities had increased. Rejection rates based on documentation concerns dropped to near zero under the new blind review system. Donations from alumni of color surged. But Amara noticed something quieter. In her engineering lab, a freshman named Malik hesitated before presenting his prototype. "I'm not sure it's good enough," he murmured. She recognized the tone instantly. "They're going to question it anyway." She looked at him firmly. "Let them question the work," she said. "Not your right to be here." He nodded slowly. Later that night, alone in her dorm room, Amara replayed the orientation video once more. Not to torture herself, to measure distance. She watched her own face on that stage. Shocked, confused, but unbroken. She paused at the moment Whitman said, "Authenticate." Then she closed the video. They had tried to define her by suspicion. Now she was helping redefine the system that suspected her. Final exams approached. Winter settled over campus. Snow dusted the same courtyard where she had been escorted out months earlier. She stood there one evening, hands tucked into her coat, watching students hurry past. No one stared now. She was just another student studying for thermodynamics. And that, strangely, felt revolutionary. Her phone buzzed again. A news alert. Westbridge implements nationwide admissions reform model. Other universities were adopting similar blind review systems. She exhaled slowly. What had begun as humiliation had become blueprint. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. You widened the door. Amara looked up at the towering brick buildings, their windows glowing against the winter sky. They had tried to push her out in front of everyone. Instead, she walked back in, not just for herself, but for every student whose excellence had once been treated as evidence. And this time, when they called her name, it was without doubt.